B&M was started in 1988, a company founded by two engineers from Giga, Walter Bolliger and Claude Mabillard. Giga subcontracted on many of Intamin's projects in the 1980s, and by 1990, they were rolling out their own coasters that use the same track design. Over the last 35 years, they've introduced a dozen different models, building a reputation for capacity, reliability, and being, in general, crowd pleasers. These coasters aren't cheap, but they are exactly what a park wants in their lineup. Today, let's talk about how each of these 12 models got started, and rank these B&M prototypes, from worst to best. First, I want to thank my Patreons and my new member, Andrew. If you want bonus access, bonus content, behind the scenes videos, a shout out when you join, and your name on this fancy Patreon screen, follow the link below and join. When I say I'm going to rank these from worst to best, I'm not talking about my personal opinion. I'm talking about these rides' ingenuity and longevity, how creative they are, have they passed the test of time, how influential have these coasters become over time, stuff like that. Number 12, Penguin Trek at SeaWorld Orlando, the family sit-down coaster, open in 2024. This is model 1 of 1 when it comes to the family sit-down coaster. B&M never building one of these before last year, but in general, they've stayed away from the family coaster, expanding that part of their business in recent years, mainly because of demand. There has been a family coaster revolution and B&M wanted a piece of it. This coaster does get a lot of heat, suffering from that weird new B&M rattle of recent years, but it does have a nice long layout, over 3,000 feet long, 2 separate launches, hitting speeds of 43 miles an hour, and this even has a dark ride section to start. It's a very popular coaster and serves a good purpose in the park, but being the only one of its kind, and kind of having a roughness issue, I had to put it last on this list. Number 11. Family Inverted Coaster at Happy Valley in Shanghai, China, the Family Inverted Coaster, opened in 2014. This was the first family coaster B&M ever built, and even then it didn't catch on right away. They had 2 in China through 2018, but over the last 2 years, they've opened or are building 6 more. So these inverts are becoming very popular. Sometimes B&M innovates, other times they jump on others' coattails, and they did a lot to innovate the inverted coaster, but they're just one of many who can build a family inverted coaster. 66 feet tall, 30 miles an hour, 1,300 feet of track, crossing over and under itself, having a helix finale. It's nice that B&M is expanding the family invert market, but I can't give them too much credit for this one. Number 10. Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America, the stand-up coaster, opened in 1990. Their first coaster ever, and it makes sense. They specialized in making stand-up coasters for Intamin when they worked for Giga, so they started their new company with what they knew, the stand-up. Back then, stand-ups were built on compact plots of land, didn't feature more than 2 inversions, so what you get is a coaster that may have been impressive in 1990, but definitely does not stand the test of time. This was the first of 7 stand-up coasters, and by the mid-90s, they were starting to build some majestic beasts. 1999 being their final stand-up, as the whole stand-up model fell out of favor, and B&M had to keep up with the times. As for Iron Wolf, 100 feet tall, 55 miles an hour, 2,900 feet of track, a loop and a corkscrew. Great America got rid of this after the 2011 season, sent it to a lesser park in Six Flags America, and even there it needed help. So in 2019, it was transformed into a floorless, now known as Firebird, where it's still going today, but its future looks bleak as the park is getting ready to shut down. Number 9. Oblivion at Alton Towers, the dive coaster, opened in 1998. The first coaster that was marketed with a vertical drop, even though this did not have a fully vertical drop. This is because it didn't have spring-loaded wheels, so it couldn't achieve the full 90 degrees, maxing out at 87.5 degrees. The spirit was there, and soon after, B&M got the full 90, and in recent years, they've been going beyond 90. Dive coasters have become bigger and more dynamic, becoming one of their more popular models. 19 of them sold over the years, and they're still pumping them out. Oblivion was definitely a one-trick pony, diving down 180 feet and rising back to the station. But they do get credit for having this dive over 100 feet underground, staying under the tree line but still giving riders a huge drop, diving into darkness for over 100 feet. This is definitely a model that's gotten better over time, but Oblivion is iconic for a good reason. Number 8. Medusa at Six Flags Great Adventure, the floorless coaster, opened in 1999. As the stand-up was being phased out, B&M came up with the floorless model, supposed to simulate flight, especially in the front row. This would have no front car and no floor, riders being wide open and seeing the track right in front of them and right below them. These are all inversion based, Medusa being the first of 13, but this was phased out as well, the last one being in 2013, although some of their old stand-up coasters have gotten floorless trains over the last 10 years. Medusa is still seen as one of the better floorless models, standing 142 feet tall, 7 inversions, 4,000 feet of track, interlocking corkscrews, a cobra roll. This prototype is a full-size coaster and people still love it. I just don't have it higher because it wasn't really a brand new concept. The trains, yes, but the coaster itself, not really. Very similar to their sit-down looper that we'll talk about later. Number 7. Galactica at Alton Towers, the flying coaster, opened in 2002. Opening as Air, or Aerial Inversion Ride, the B&M version of the flying experience wasn't original, but it did take it to a whole new level. Vekoma had introduced their Flying Dutchman 2 years prior, and B&M took a more custom, refined approach to flying. Once again, this prototype was dropped into Alton Towers, having that height restriction, so this can only rise up 66 feet off the ground, hits 47 miles an hour, 2,756 feet of track, flipping riders into 2 inversions and having elements in the flying position and on the riders' backs. Unlike Vekoma, this would start riders in the flying position, rather than put them on their backs on the lift hill. The Flyer sold 4 models right away, Six Flags buying 3 Superman clones, but B&M really took their craft to the next level with rides like Tatsu, Starry Sky Ripper, and their final Flyer in 2016, Flying Dinosaur. It's been almost 10 years since we've seen a Flyer, but it's not clear if the model is done or not. Most people seem to think it's not, and this moratorium could just be a maintenance issue. Parks are afraid of all the moving parts and the possibility of breakdowns. Or maybe it's just a fad that ran its course. Number 6. Raptor at Gardaland, the wing coaster, opened in 2011. As the floorless coaster was phasing out, B&M introduced the wing coaster. Again, not a new concept, but taken to a whole new level. Aerodynamics got this started with X in 2002. Intamin built Furious Baco in 2007, also introduced their Zaxpin model with riders on the side of the track, but B&M had the idea of a much more traditional coaster with wing seating, not necessarily launched, not having rotating seats. Just going through big inversions on the side of the track, and their best idea for this model had to have been the near-miss element. Raptor has a few of these, contorting the train to pass through elements of theming, and that has become a huge selling point for this model going forward. Raptor is 108 feet tall, 56 miles an hour, 3 inversions, and over 2,500 feet long, so not one of the bigger wing coasters they've built, but a perfect showcase for what the model could do. Since then, they've introduced wing over drops and launches, the model being extremely popular, 19 of them around the world and still going very strong. Number 5. Pipeline the Surf Coaster at SeaWorld Orlando, the Surf Coaster, opened in 2023. For years, we'd heard about the Surf Coaster but weren't sure what it was. Some people thought it would be a basic sit-down launch coaster. Others thought it would be a stand-up coaster but the riders would be facing sideways. These were both kinda true. You do launch, you do stand up, but you're facing forward. Others believed this would be an alternate to the stand-up train. But after riding Pipeline, you can tell this is a completely different coaster. This can go upside down, but it isn't inversion based. Pipeline has 1 inversion, a corkscrew, and it thrives on the up and down motion. The seat's not locking in, so you're coming off the ground. A bit of a gimmick, but also giving riders something very, very different. In a day and age where new ideas are harder and harder to come across, the Surf Coaster gives you a one-of-a-kind experience. Pipeline has the 1 launch getting up to 60 miles an hour, rising 110 feet, almost 3,000 feet of track, and B&M sold their second model to Happy Valley Shanghai, the same park with a family inverted prototype. That's set to open in 2027. Number 4. Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, the hypercoaster, opened in 1999. Another model B&M didn't invent, just perfected. Aerodynamics, Togo, Morgan. They had been building these hypercoasters since the late 80s, non-looping coasters that are focused on height and speed, and in B&M's case, lots of airtime. Other manufacturers were hit or miss on the ride experience, but B&M proved they could build an ultra-smooth, ultra-fun, airtime-filled experience. Apollo stands 170 feet in the air, but drops down 210 feet, has 8 hills after that first drop, using a dive and a helix to turn the train around, 4,900 feet of track, 73 mile an hour top speed, all about that speed and airtime, and this would be replicated 14 more times. The last one coming in 2020, but there's no indication this model is done. Apollo's Chariot is a great ride, but it's definitely one of the weaker hypers, so over the next 20 years, they did a great job improving on it, and making some of the best coasters in the world. Number 3. Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland, the Giga Coaster, opened in 2012. This is just an offshoot of their hyper model. In fact, technically, it is considered a hyper model, but to me, these are different. They aren't just supersized hypers, they have a whole other game plan with their layouts, focusing on speed, mixing in some airtime, but aren't just hill after hill. Their layouts are more dynamic. This is something B&M had to invent themselves. They didn't copy the camelback heavy focus of an Aero or Morgan Hyper. They didn't even copy the overbanks or snappy switchbacks of the Intamin Giga model. These Giga elements are fully custom. They've made 3 thus far, all having 300 plus foot drops. Leviathan being a great ride, but you can tell was definitely a prototype. Fury 325 being the perfected version. Leviathan has a 306-foot drop, hits 92 miles an hour, rockets out to the front gate and back, well over a mile of track, some great airtime moments, but also stays low to the ground to show off its speed, and this became the icon of Canada's Wonderland. It is by no means cheap, but it is the perfect coaster to headline your park. Number 2, Kumba at Busch Gardens Tampa, the sit-down looper, opened in 1993. Here's one model that never took off. Only 6 of these were built, but it was very influential, and Kumba remains a favorite of a lot of enthusiasts. Before Kumba, not only did B&M build small-scale loopers, but you just didn't see inversions this big. When aerodynamics went big, they'd rise the track into a small inversion high off the ground. Kumba would start with a 135-foot drop, into a 114-foot loop that wraps around the lift hill, into a 7-inversion course that included a dive loop, 0G roll, cobra roll, and interlocking corkscrews. These inversions are big and graceful, the rides ran smooth, it brought a lot of positive Gs, and this model was used to headline the brand new Port Aventura in Spain, DragonCon having the most inversions in the world with 8, as well as the brand new Islands of Adventure in Orlando, the Hulk launching the train out of his tunnel into its first inversion. So, a great model, an influential model, and a coaster still beloved by enthusiasts. Number 1, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America, the inverted coaster, opened in 1992. By far, B&M's most innovative coaster. For some time, it was believed an inverted coaster could not go upside down, and B&M proved them wrong in 1992. Since then, other manufacturers have followed suit, and B&M's innovation has led to so many other models we enjoy today, not even counting the other B&M inverts. 32 of them sold around the world, by far the most of any of B&M's models. This was huge in the 90s and has slowed down since, the last one built in 2021. Six Flags took a chance on this Batman model and loved it so much, they flooded their parks with them for the next 10 years. 100 feet tall, 50 miles an hour, 2,700 feet of track, and 5 whippy intense inversions. Batman the Ride has definitely stood the test of time. They're all still around in some shape or form, they're still popular, and even though I like some of these other rides more, like Leviathan and Apollo's Chariot, Batman the Ride is far and away B&M's best prototype for the ride it gives and everything it's meant to the industry. That's a wrap on the B&M prototypes. Let me know what you think of this list, what you would change around, and if you have any other thoughts, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. Also, check out my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.